Two rival hockey players, one secret they can't afford anyone finding out, and a show that just pulled in over 10 million viewers an episode for a story that started as a paperback romance novel. By the end of this video, you'll know exactly what the show changed from the book, including one scene the show handles completely differently than the source material, and whether that change actually makes the story better. Here's the setup. Two professional hockey players on rival teams. On the ice, they're enemies, the kind of rivalry sports commentators love to hype. Off the ice, they're hiding a relationship neither of them can risk anyone finding out about, in a sport that hasn't exactly been welcoming to guys like them. The book came out back in 2019, as the second entry in a hockey romance series most casual readers hadn't heard of. It built a quiet, loyal following for years, the kind of book people passed around in group chats before it ever went viral. Then the show adaptation hit, and it didn't just do well, it wildly outperformed expectations. The lead actors went from relatively unknown to trending topics overnight. And that kind of overnight fame does something specific to a book. It sends new readers flooding back to the source material to see how the story really goes. Here's where it gets interesting. The show and the book tell mostly the same story, but there's one major scene where the adaptation makes a completely different choice than Rachel Reed did on the page. And depending who you ask, that change either fixes a pacing problem in the book, or strips out something the book did better. Quick gut check. If you've read the book and watched the show, drop a comment on which version of that moment hit harder for you. I want to see where people land. Moving from page to screen changes more than just visuals. Internal monologue, which carries a huge amount of the emotional weight in the book, has to become something visible, a look, a hesitation, a scene that didn't need to exist in prose. That's true of basically every book-to-screen adaptation, but it's especially noticeable here because so much of this story lives in what these two characters aren't saying out loud. Remember that scene I promised you at the start? Here's the actual difference. The book lets the tension build slowly, privately, across several chapters. The show compresses that into a single, much more public moment, which raises the stakes visually, but trades away some of the slow-burn intimacy that made the book's version land so hard for readers. At its core, both versions are telling the same story about what it costs to hide who you are in a world watching your every move. The show just tells it louder, and the book tells it quieter. Neither is wrong. They're just different tools for the same gut punch. If you want more book versus show breakdowns like this, subscribe. I've got one lined up next week on another adaptation everyone's arguing about.